Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 2 of the Medieval Survival Build project. Now, if you saw last video, which should have been posted yesterday if I did that right, I finished in the time lapse getting all of the materials needed for these houses. I've filled up all the shulker boxes of the things that I will be needing. And today I was thinking I have a list of different coordinates of places in the world that I've thought I could put, specific cities and things like that. And so what I was thinking is we can just go to those places and I'll just put in time lapses of me clearing those locations out and flattening them out in preparation for future, building projects. Because one thing that I really hated doing for this area was planning a spot for a house to go. So let me get up here real quick. So everybody knows who plays Minecraft knows that when you, with planes specifically, there are usually a lot of lava lakes, regular lakes, things like that have to be filled up, and weird terraforming land generation issues that need to be fixed. So I will just be going to those various places and doing that. And that's just what I have planned for this video. So yeah, I will talk to you guys next time, and I'll start the time lapse. So, as you guys saw, I started the time lapse. I did some of it, but I was just thinking, since I did a lot of time lapse, or a good amount of time lapse last time, in the last video, I figured, why not do something else, add some variety at least. So I was thinking, instead of having it mostly time lapse, why don't we take a look at trying to think of a new design for a new kind of building and a new species for that building. Because I feel like that would be a bit more interesting than just me taking out grass and filling in holes. And it would just be better overall. So the race, I'm going to call them races, they're species, this I guess you could kind of call them species. I don't know. The different kinds of people that live in this world are very varied. That's a weird 2 words to put together. So the diversity, I would say, in this world is very high, like you would see in a fantasy anime or Lord of the Rings kind of thing. So I am going to hop into creative mode just to build this out, and I'm going to change the time so you guys can see better. I usually have night vision turned on. You probably noticed that in the last video, that I always had a constant night vision effect. That's just because I, what's it called? My mind's going blank. It just looks better, video-wise, for night vision to be on, so that I don't have to deal with torches or things like that. And it just makes life easier. And then I also don't have to mess with like the gamma of the video and of the game itself and that kind of thing. So the building style, or like the species that this building style is going to go with, I don't know if I would necessarily consider them to be angels, but I was just thinking winged, you know, creatures that live up in the clouds, which is why the base color is white, which I realize it's very bright with shaders on it. I apologize for that. And so I was thinking of what I could possibly, you know, build their houses and things like that out of, and also like what blocks I'm going to use. My first instinct is to go with quartz. However, quartz is a pain to get. Even with fortune, it's still a pain to get. Traversing the nether is never fun. And I don't think I even have a lot to begin with. Do I have any? Let's see. I do have some. Yeah, I have like almost 3 stacks of just regular quartz, which is not a lot. And if I decided to build out of quartz, getting it like 5, 6 shulker boxes worth would be somewhat irritating, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. So I was thinking of an alternative to quartz. The first thing I think of is concrete and concrete powder. And those are the only, well, and there's also diorite, but diorite is difficult to make look good, and I don't think it's good to use in like a large quantity. If you use it in small places, I've seen it work, but I don't know if that's going to be a good option. Wool is something we can also use, however, it would kind of take away that, I guess, stone kind of effect. For the sake of you guys, your eyes, I'm going to change this to light gray. Despite the fact that in reality, once I actually get around to building it, the clouds that they would be sitting on would be probably, you know, like a white wool on the inside with a white stained glass layer on the outside, just to give kind of that transparent look, but also give it some structure so that it doesn't just look like a random glass floating like it does up there. And so for the basic style that I was thinking of, so my first instinct was, when I thought of this, was, you know, like Greek kind of, oh gosh, what's that building called? Oh, I know the name of it. I can't remember what it's called. It's not the Colosseum. It's the really iconic building that's a ruin, and there's the columns, and it has the triangle roof, kind of like that roof over there. At least the front part of that roof. I want to say it starts with a P, but I can't be positive. I'm going to look it up. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, come on. Parthenon. That's what it's called. I knew it started with a P. The Parthenon. So, the big columns, the like quartz not necessarily quartz pillars, but you know, the big pillars, very like Greek looking, which I guess it's not necessarily, I don't know if it's technically necessarily a style, but you know, that kind of Roman, ancient Greece kind of Mount Olympus kind of vibe. And so obviously quartz would be a great go-to for that, with all of the different variants of quartz there are. So like, those pillars would obviously be pretty much perfect for, you know, Mount Olympus style buildings. However, quartz is such a pain to get, so my instinct was concrete, but concrete doesn't have that, you know, pillared look, if that's the best way to describe it. So maybe I will have to use quartz. If I get all of the quartz things that are available, which I think I grabbed them all. So, unfortunately with using quartz, the main structure of the buildings would be quartz, which is going to be a royal pain to get. And it will take a lot of time, which I would just put in a time lapse anyway. But since I had to Google what the Parthenon was, because I have a great memory, there's a bunch of reference images of the Parthenon, and it's, if you look at it and think about it from an architect perspective, it's very simple. It might not seem simple when you first think about it, but when you actually look at it, it's a rectangle with pillars all the way around and a roof. That's essentially what the Parthenon looks like, and then obviously at the front, there's the sculptures in that area between where the columns are and where the edge of the roof is. Now, what it looks like is there's the pillars on the outside, so it would be, obviously it wouldn't be this small, but let's just say pillar, 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 and then these would go up, and then these pillars would continue around like so. Pretend it's a rectangle and not a square. That would do that. And then this roof would obviously, you know, go up at a good angle to where it meets at a point in the center, and there would be a design in the middle. However, I don't want to fully copy the design of the Parthenon. The buildings I come up with will be heavily based off of the Parthenon, as well as, you know, Greek style buildings and things of that nature. but it won't be a direct copy because, I'm trying to not make everything a direct copy. But whatever happens, happens. So, if we make a list of, different aspects of Greek architecture that would be good to have, or important to have, pillars are a definite. Pillars are definitely going to be necessary. And then I would also say, pointed roofs that have a design on them in the roof section. I would say those are two main aspects that I feel would be important to include. So let's start with quartz bricks, or does that look weird? Let's see. I think I'm going to make two different versions. I didn't technically build two different versions of this goblin-style house. However, there would be ones where it's just straight across and not a plus sign. It would just be, this horizontal bit without the extra bits on the side. And so there are variations like that. And then these would be bigger in some places. The reason these have two different variants is because they're made out of two entirely different blocks, which needed two separate, design palettes. So my thought process that way would be do one that's kind of more of a circle shape that has a domed roof, and then one's in kind of a style that's more square and more rectangular, kind of leaning towards what the Parthenon looks like. So I think I'm going to start with what the Parthenon looks like, because once I kind of have that style down, it will be easier to transfer that style into, circular form. Because starting with circles, I tried doing the goblin style house as a circle, just starting off. It did not end well. Since I didn't have the style then and I wasn't really sure what I was going for. Well, these shouldn't be too big. One thing that I always try to do when I'm building, just because it makes life generally easier, is to make, let's say you're making a rectangle. What I would do to make life easier for yourself is to make sure that each side is an odd number. So I don't even know if this side's an odd number, I didn't count. It's 10. So obviously that would cause me problems later. So I would increase it to make it longer, and then I'll just increase this so that I have more space to work with. Because let's say this was only, it's currently 7. Let's say it was only 6 blocks across, and let's say you wanted to put a door. The door would have to go here, unless you would want your design to be off-center, that kind of thing. Which I kind of did with the houses that are over there, the bigger, more classic fantasy houses, just because of how the windows are set up. However, I always do try to make them an uneven number of blocks so that a door can fit perfectly in the middle. Because that's just how I've kind of thought of it. One thing I do know I want to do is I want to use prismarine bricks. And maybe even regular prismarine, I have not decided yet. So that is just an S. But I was thinking putting a kind of design into the floor It's kind of difficult to do on a small scale. That's just an S again, or technically a 2. But something like that to have more color variation, since quartz is literally just white, and technically off-white if you're a color theorist. And so I think adding a different, I don't like prismarine bricks with it, never mind. Okay, just prismarine. Adding prismarine would bring a nice color variation in, so that the outside trim of the roof could be quartz stairs, but the roof itself could be comprised of prismarine. That would also make it to where I don't have to use as much quartz, and I use up some of the prismarine that I have, seeing as I have almost a full double chest of regular prismarine. Then I don't know what I'm going to do with. Also, prismarine, as some of you know, has a weird effect that it changes color. I think it's depending on the time of day. And then it just shifts colors from green into like a bluish purple. And so I feel like with angels and kind of a holy kind of feeling, it would work a lot better. So let's see. If the base is smooth quartz, let's imagine we put a small staircase here with pillars here. Or we want to put pillars here. Unless we make this the pillars, but then the building would become kind of flat. Let's just do this. Let's build up the walls. And I obviously have windows in here. So let's see. So let's think. Put a window there. I might make the windows bigger, just because, you know, you'd want a good view of the clouds, but let's right now just do that. Unless we do this. I don't know, let's not think about windows right now. Let's just build up a wall and come up with the outside. Let's imagine we do this. See, it looks plain. We could do that. Let me change the time to look at this better. I guess this would technically have one of those classic roofs that come to a point. Like that. Unless I'd want it I'm trying to think. I didn't think too much about roof shape when coming up with this like kind of building design. And I guess technically the design hasn't been come up with yet, seeing as I don't 100% know what my plan is. It's like there's that, and then obviously the roof would be made out of prismarine stairs. and prismarine slabs. So it would be that kind of vibe. The problem I'm facing is the the quartz pillars are incredibly similar to the quartz background, which makes me wonder what would happen if white concrete was used. See, that adds that variation. I mean, that could technically work. This would also need to be changed. Let's change this real quick, just to get a better idea of what it would actually look like. This would also help take out the amount of quartz I would need. I actually like that better because it adds that depth. Before it just looked flat. And then if we fill in, let's do that. And then this. Did this. And I was also thinking about using sea lanterns because they go with prismarine really well. This is the first time I've come up with a building design this quickly, and I haven't had to do as much research. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to time-lapse this part of me just duplicating the roof design, filling in the roof, and I will get back to you. Okay, everybody, I am back. I finished building the rest of it. I added the pillars on the sides. The back is almost exactly the same as the front, except the front has these steps that lead up to the entrance. Now, I'm debating adding either a stair to the top or... yeah, I don't think either is good. I think that peak's enough. And as you saw in the time lapse, I realized I used regular quartz stairs which kind of gave a brick sort of effect to the, what's it called? To the trim. And so I tore a lot of it down and I changed it. And I looked at it and I realized it didn't look as good. And I'm just changing the smooth quartz slabs to regular quartz slabs, which I think looks much better. I might need to change the pillar locations on the side for the sake of windows. So if I did them 3 apart, it looks like it's missing pillars now. Unless I decide to do just big windows. Since, you know, this is going to be up in the sky and you want a good view anyway. So, like, we just do floor-to-ceiling windows with, let's see, would we want to use white stained glass or, let's see, there's clear and then there's a white. Let's go outside just to see. I think I like white better. I don't know why I like white better, but I just do. And I think since these buildings are smaller, I'm not going to put a design on the floor. Just because it would be too much for a small space. I could always just do something simple. Let's see. Put that in the middle. I think I like that actually. And then, let's see. If we think about doors, let me think. I can always just not use doors, seeing as that I don't think there are any doors that would go super well. Like, that just looks weird. The warp door also just looks kind of weird. If I had to choose one, I would choose the warp door. Or let me think. If I just made it kind of, let's see. Staircase, that there. Unless I do that and there aren't quartz walls, are there? They're not. Okay. I think that's probably the best option. I mean, the pillars. I think just leaving an open door is the best option. Okay, so this might be the fastest I've ever come up with a design for one of these buildings, or building styles. I'm not going to do the second one right now. I will probably do it off camera. I will still record, just to be able to possibly put it in a time lapse later. But it will be a similar style, just figuring out the logistics of the circle itself. But that is all I'm going to do today. I will talk to you guys later. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to keep up with my videos that I post, and hit that bell icon.